And I was leader of the G8 nations. In 2005, we put Africa at the center of the G8. We created the Department for International Development. We trebled aid from the UK. But today, in my post-prime ministerial work, there's a different concept, which is a concept of how we help countries to take their own destiny into their own hands. And right now, Ghana, has got big challenges for sure. Challenges around its budget deficit, challenges around the power sector, challenges around agriculture, education, industrialization. But there is an enormous amount of goodwill internationally towards Ghana today. The Ghanaian people are respected people. This country has huge potential. It's got resources that it can develop and exploit. And what is necessary is that it sets the country on the right path now to take the difficult decisions and to improve the lives of people. And if we can help from the governance initiative in any way with that process, we will. But I'm very confident about Ghana. I think the Ghanaian people should be confident about the country. And right now is the moment for understanding that potential and developing it, and knowing that whatever the challenges, there is a genuine opportunity if the correct decisions are taken and the right focus is there. Aid is important, and as I say, when I was Prime Minister, we trebled aid. But today you can learn the lessons of good governance from around the world. For example, if you're trying to bring in investment, you need a minimum bureaucracy, you need transparent rules, you need to make sure that you're fighting things like corruption, you need to make sure that you're developing the infrastructure so that business can come in. These are lessons that around the world where they're applied, countries succeed. And yes, of course, you've got to open up Western markets as well. And actually, Britain, which is still part of the European Union as we speak, we have been advocating within Europe a much more open approach to African trade. So yes, of course, you need to knock down those trade barriers with the West, but by the way, you also need to knock down some of the trade barriers, tariff and non-tariff, between the neighboring countries. There's so much more that could be done in the trade that goes across this part of Africa. So all of these things, what I'm saying is we kind of know what we should do. The challenge is doing it. And whatever sector you're talking about, industrialization, the power sector, agriculture, the great thing is to learn the best lessons from around the world, what's working, what's not, and apply those lessons. I don't favor the age limit. I favor the right of the people to decide, and they should decide on the basis of the best person, whatever their age, whatever their gender. I think NEPAD has in part been successful, but I think we need to take the concept further. Germany, for example, in the G20 this year is looking at a compact for change and investment. And I think the best ideas today, whether NEPAD or other ideas, the best ideas are those that involve a partnership of equals between the developed and the developing world. We've both got a lot to gain from that type of partnership, but ultimately, whether a country like Ghana succeeds will be up to Ghanaians. In the end, we can help. The developed world can help, or it can hinder. And let's hope it helps. But ultimately, your success lies in your hands. You will make your country succeed. No one else can be substituted for that. And that kind of principle of partnership rather than donor-recipient, is, I think, the better way forward. And that's what was behind NEPAD. And, I'm in favor of developing NEPAD further, but I think we should be looking at different ways of partnering. But I think there is a general anxiety today in the world about the pace of change and about globalization. People worry about it. They worry because with globalization comes economic change, technology changes the way we live and work, displaces jobs. Next generation of technology will displace even more people. People worry economically, and they worry culturally. Because what happens in a world of globalization is the world moves closer together. Okay, so you cross these boundaries of ethnicity and culture and faith. So people worry about that too. My only point, whether on Brexit or any of the debates in Europe at the moment, my point is very simple. The answer to these challenges of globalization is not to shut the world down. It's to open it up, but to help people through the process of change. And this is why things like education and skills and infrastructure are really important today. A modern industrial strategy is really important, but that's the answer, not to retreat from the world. And frankly, that's part of the answer here in Ghana. I mean, one of the reasons why your new president's made education such a big priority is because the more educated you are, the better able you are to handle this world of change. But when politics becomes dangerous is when it sells people what is essentially something that is false, namely that this world of change is going to stop. It's not. It's going to carry on intensifying. And the challenge for governments, whether in Ghana or in Britain or in France or in America, wherever it is, the challenges for government are the same. How do you help people through the process of change? How do you access the benefits of globalization and minimize its risks? I mean, when we do this press conference now, if I was doing this when I first came into power in 1997, it would be a 24-hour news cycle. People in the UK would kind of get to know if I'd said something the next day. They're going to know in 30 seconds. So this world is completely different. We all live and work differently today, don't we? And we think differently as a result. So I understand why people get frightened by that process of change. It frightens me sometimes. But I do think the world is better when it opens up. And if you look at all the progress there's been, think of when you've made progress in Ghana. How's it been? Right, it's been, you secure your independence. You just had your 60 years anniversary. There's a lot of teething problems and difficulties in that process. But, the country has come a long way, but it's got a long way to go. But all the changes that you want to make here in Ghana today, they're going to be changes that equip the people of the country to be able to handle that process of change. They're never going to be about closing the country down, shutting off its borders, turning its back on the world. It's always going to be about making sure that Ghanaians feel comfortable and confident. Right. Now, there's a lot of things the government has to do in order to make that happen. But that's the way forward for the world. And this is why I think, we can make globalization work for people, but it's a big, big mistake if we try and shut it down, because it won't be shut down and will make a lot of people worse off in the process of trying to shut it down. And just to say, I visited Ghana when I was Prime Minister. I'm now back as a former Prime Minister, but I'm still as passionate as ever about the country, about its potential, and about the work that myself and my organization do in Africa. And if there's any way at all we can help with the journey of change that you're embarked upon here, with your new president, we will be honored to do so. And thank you very much indeed for coming and listening to me today.
Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen.